Two corporate employees on standard tech and art salaries are somehow maintaining a multi-million-dollar, jet-setting lifestyle that doesn't add up. For years, the world was told that Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie were completely isolated from their parents' catastrophic financial scandals. But a massive institutional panic has just rippled through the monarchy, as whispers grow louder about a secret financial shield. It turns out their modest professional careers might just be a brilliant illusion masking high-stakes, unvouched alliances in the Middle East, acting as the ultimate shock absorbers for a family enterprise that was never meant to be uncovered. By the end of this video, you will see the specific leaked ledger that has the future king demanding total exile, completely shifting the balance of power within the palace. If you love unraveling the mysteries that the headlines are too afraid to touch, join our inner circle by hitting that subscribe button. Let's dive into the story they tried so hard to hide. The math of the York family simply does not make sense, and the deeper you look into the actual data, the more the entire picture fractures. On paper, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie maintain seemingly standard corporate careers. For years, Beatrice worked as the vice president of strategic partnerships at the tech firm Affinity, pulling in a reported corporate salary between £150,000 and £200,000. Meanwhile, Eugenie carved out a career in the high-end art world, serving as a director for the London art gallery Hauser and Wirth, with an estimated annual salary crossing just over £100,000. While these numbers are excellent for standard London professionals, they do not even begin to cover the reality of their daily lives. We are talking about a world of multi-million-dollar property portfolios, ultra-exclusive luxury getaways, and private jet flights that cost tens of thousands of dollars per trip. For decades, the public was fed a clean narrative that the sisters were completely insulated from the chaotic, multi-million-pound financial downfalls of their parents. But early 2026 reports suggest that the sisters weren't distant bystanders at all, but rather the crucial financial shock absorbers keeping a massive unvouched family network running in the shadows, a network that insiders are now calling the York Enterprise. To understand why this network was built, you have to look at the exact moment the family's official financial foundations collapsed. When Prince Andrew was stripped of his official public funding and his standard royal allowances were completely cut off, it left a massive, multi-million-pound hole in the family's budget. Maintaining their elite lifestyle became an immediate, desperate crisis. According to sources, the solution lay in transitioning the family business into a private advisory model, utilizing the daughter's unique status as a bridge to global wealth. Rumors indicate that a highly sophisticated framework was established, allowing funds to flow smoothly into private corporate structures away from standard palace oversight. A key example of this surfaced recently with the launch of Beatrice's new venture, Purpose Economy Intelligence Limited, where she holds a massive 45% stake alongside a senior executive from the World Economic Forum, while her longtime private secretary holds the remaining 10%. On the surface, it is categorized as a standard management consultancy. But behind the scenes, investigators are asking whether these entities were built to act as highly effective financial shields, moving immense wealth far out of reach of the public eye. The most alarming aspect of this shadow system isn't just that the money was moving, it is exactly where the trail leads. Reports suggest that a significant portion of this unvouched wealth traces back to high-stakes consulting arrangements and high-profile discussions in the Middle East, completely bypassed by official royal calendars. It is claimed that these lucrative international arrangements weren't just about standard IT advice or art procurement. They were about selling premium, high-level access to the British monarchy itself. Every time a massive new corporate commission, an unexplained real estate asset, or a high-value gift appeared in the sisters' orbit, it strangely coincided with private trips and high-level international forums that never appeared on any official royal roster. This highly profitable shadow system worked flawlessly for years, hiding an immense family fortune in plain sight, while keeping the true source of their funding entirely anonymous. But even the most carefully guarded financial networks eventually leave a digital footprint. This entire house of cards began to wobble when a group of highly controversial international figures showed up where they were least expected, completely exposing the network in broad daylight. If you want to hide a global networking web, you don't do it in a dark alley. You do it in front of hundreds of television cameras, wrapped in the ultimate prestige of a royal wedding. When Princess Eugenie walked down the aisle at St. George's Chapel, the world's media was completely mesmerized. The cameras captured Hollywood icons like Demi Moore, pop sensations like Robbie Williams, and legendary supermodels like Kate Moss and Naomi Campbell. It looked like the ultimate celebration of British elite society. But reports suggest that if you looked past the front-row celebrities and the sweeping designer gowns, a much more strategic group of individuals was quietly taking their seats in the historic pews. According to sources, the expansive guest list included figures whose massive financial backgrounds and international operations would make a seasoned diplomat deeply uncomfortable. Insiders say this wasn't an accidental oversight by a young royal bride. Instead, rumors indicate it was a calculated display of the York enterprise in full effect, playing out under the historic arches of Windsor Castle. By October 2018, the family was facing an unstated crisis. The official royal budget could no longer cushion the incredibly lavish lifestyle they had grown accustomed to, creating an urgent and desperate need for alternative, independent funding streams. It is claimed that some of the ultra-wealthy international figures in attendance weren't just there to toast the happy couple. They were the primary architects behind the scenes, holding the keys to the financial lifelines keeping the family's world afloat. Among the ocean of 800 guests, certain names raised serious red flags behind palace walls. Observers pointed to the unexpected presence of highly influential international billionaires and foreign tech magnates, including Chinese e-commerce tycoon Richard Liu and American oil heir Michael Hess, a figure known to share incredibly close ties with Princess Beatrice. Every polite nod in the chapel, every toast raised during the reception, potentially represented a brand new corporate alliance or a substantial transaction destined for private accounts, completely shielded from standard palace audits. This was an environment where a historic family celebration double-functioned as a high-stakes corporate summit for institutional survival. But playing such a dangerous game under the global spotlight eventually carries a steep and devastating price. Early 2026 reports suggest that several individuals from that specific wedding guest list have recently fallen under intense global regulatory scrutiny and financial investigations. Suddenly, their documented, historic proximity to the York sisters has transformed from a highly lucrative asset into a massive institutional liability for the British Crown. The palace is reportedly horrified by what these deep-rooted connections imply, especially as a new trail of leaked evidence points to a much deeper financial involvement than anyone first assumed. And just as the public began asking who truly funded that spectacular day, a devastating rift tore through the royal family, triggered by an explosive discovery no one saw coming. The quiet halls of Windsor were rocked to their absolute core in early 2026, when a cache of documents surfaced that no one was ever supposed to see. We aren't just talking about generic corporate memos or dusty financial summaries here. These are reported to be highly detailed, unedited logs consisting of over 200 pages of private financial correspondence and travel manifests. The leaks completely pull back the curtain on decades of high-stakes associations. According to sources, these files contain specific uncomfortable mentions of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. The context suggests they were much closer to the center of their family's past controversies than anyone in the palace ever dared to admit. It is a paper trail that leads directly into the private social circles the monarchy has been desperate to erase. For years, the public was led to believe that the sisters were entirely shielded from the darker side of the York household. But these explosive new 2026 revelations tell a completely different story. Rumors indicate that investigators uncovered a digital breadcrumb trail left by a former associate, sparking a frantic, quiet search within the deepest corners of the palace archives. Suddenly, references to family excursions and private retreats began to align perfectly with some of the most sensitive dates in recent history. It is claimed that these documents don't just show where the sisters were, but exactly who was footing the massive bills. The logs reportedly outline expenses totaling over £150,000 for international travel, luxury villas, and private security during those missing weekends. Most shockingly, the documents allegedly include unverified mentions of a $14,000 flight to Miami, covered by a controversial billionaire associate back when the sisters were just 19 and 20 years old. The mystery deepens when you realize how these files came to light. Insiders say that when specific shagging weekend comments, once casually dismissed as harmless social gossip, showed up documented in black and white inside the leaked archive, the palace completely panicked. It is an absolute nightmare scenario for a monarchy trying to present a clean, streamlined image to the world. The institutional reaction to this information leak was swift, clinical, and devastatingly cold. This wasn't a minor administrative issue. It was a matter of total institutional survival. Reports suggest a strict distancing directive was issued almost immediately from the very top of the monarchy. The York sisters were reportedly informed that their presence at major 2026 milestone events, including high-profile public appearances like Royal Ascot, was no longer a given. It is believed King Charles himself was fully briefed on the uncomfortable proximity these document logs revealed, leading to a symbolic, impenetrable wall being built around the core working family. The consequences of this quiet exile began playing out in broad daylight, leaving the sisters isolated on an island of their own making. While the public noticed their sudden absence from the official royal lineup, a much more aggressive storm was brewing away from the cameras. The sisters reportedly felt completely blindsided, believing they were being unfairly punished for a past they could not control. However, the future king wasn't looking for excuses. He was looking for solid proof. The standoff over these leaked files was only the baseline catalyst for what happened next. To understand how a simple paper trail transformed into an unprecedented, aggressive financial interrogation, you have to see the shocking ultimatum that Prince William delivered to break the family's silence. The royal rift reached a point of no return when an ultimatum was delivered that changed the rules of the game forever. According to sources, Prince William decided that the era of "trust me" was officially over. Reports suggest he issued a direct, non-negotiable demand. The York sisters must voluntarily open their private financial books to an independent team of external forensic auditors. It was a calculating move, explicitly designed to flush out the truth behind those Middle Eastern consulting deals and anonymous gifts once and for all. The tension within the palace walls was allegedly electric. For the first time in modern history, the future king wasn't just asking for family cooperation. He was demanding cold, hard proof of where every single penny originated. Insiders say the sisters were given a terrifyingly simple choice: total transparency or total, permanent exclusion from the royal brand. But what happened next shocked the entire institution to its core. Rumors indicate that both Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie flatly rejected the request. They dug in their heels and absolutely refused to hand over the digital keys to their private ledgers. This wasn't just a minor family disagreement. It was an unprecedented act of open defiance against the future king. It is claimed that their immediate, aggressive refusal has convinced senior royal aides that there is something buried deep within those accounts that simply cannot see the light of day. Why would a member of the royal family turn down a perfect chance to clear their name unless the underlying truth was infinitely more damaging than the public speculation? Every single day they stay silent, the curiosity gap only grows wider, and the pressure from the top of the monarchy becomes more suffocating. As the financial audit war rages on, the sisters are reportedly preparing a massive countermove to save whatever is left of their global reputation. They aren't just sitting back and waiting for the next blow to land. To understand how they plan to flip the narrative and use a major personal milestone to mask this financial storm, you have to look at the aggressive, clean slate strategy they are launching right now. Hiding a billionaire lifestyle in plain sight is incredibly difficult when the future king has your financial records in his sights. Allegedly, the York sisters realized that the only way to beat the financial noise was to bury it under a massive wave of public sentiment. Reports suggest they quickly initiated an aggressive, clean slate strategy. The plan was simple: use the most powerful weapon in the royal PR arsenal, family milestones and emotional headlines, to completely shift the public's focus away from the ongoing audit war. Suddenly, every public appearance and social media post seemed to be meticulously scrubbed. They began projecting an image of modest, hard-working, relatable mothers who were totally disconnected from any family shadow business. But the optics of their ultra-luxury travel and elite international social circles kept bubbling to the surface, creating a massive internal struggle to maintain this normal facade. Every time they tried to move forward with a fresh PR campaign, a new whisper about a past gift or a mysterious property holding seemed to pull them right back into the storm. Rumors indicate that Princess Eugenie's recent personal news and public milestones were viewed behind palace walls as the ultimate distraction tactic, a desperate way to reset the clock and make the public forget about the devastating 2026 document leaks. But the monarchy isn't biting. Sources claim that away from the cameras, the financial interrogation hasn't slowed down for a single second. The stark contrast between their public message of financial restraint and the reported reality of their unvouched bank accounts is creating a tension that has become impossible for the palace to ignore. This make-or-break strategy is widely believed to be their absolute last chance to stay within the royal fold. If they cannot convince the public, and more importantly, Prince William, that they have truly cut ties with the York enterprise, the consequences will be permanent. They are currently walking a razor-thin line between a fresh start and a total institutional lockout. As the clock ticks down on their current roles, a final, much more serious threat is looming directly over their heads. This isn't just about managing public perception anymore. To see why their time as Royal Highnesses might be running out faster than anyone ever expected, you have to look at the final decree currently sitting on the King's desk. The clock is officially ticking on the royal titles of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, and the final decision may have already been signed into history. We are talking about the very identity they have held since the exact moment of their birth. Reports suggest that a highly confidential decree is currently sitting on King Charles's desk, one that could permanently strip away their status as Royal Highnesses. Insiders say this dramatic move would completely redefine the York legacy, reducing the sisters to private citizens in a swift, historic stroke. While the sisters are reportedly determined to hold on to their status, the pressure from the top of the monarchy has reached an absolute breaking point. It is believed that the title of Royal Highness is no longer being treated as an undeniable birthright by the palace. Instead, senior officials are viewing it as a privilege that requires total financial transparency, something the sisters have flatly refused to provide. The atmosphere within the royal estates is described as cold, clinical, and completely uncompromising. Rumors indicate that even as the family attempts to celebrate joyful personal milestones and new arrivals, the institutional machinery is moving aggressively in the opposite direction. It is claimed that the physical distancing we've witnessed at major 2026 events was merely the opening phase of a much larger plan. The next step is far more permanent. Every single time a new report surfaces regarding questionable international gifts or unverified Middle Eastern banking deals, the argument for keeping the sisters in the official royal lineup becomes impossible for the king to defend. The choice presented to the House of York has been simplified to a terrifying degree. Open the financial books and keep the titles, or keep the secrets and lose the crown. As the summer of 2026 approaches, the silence from the sisters' camp is becoming absolutely deafening. They are standing their ground, but the weight of institutional authority is leaning heavily against them. Will they volunteer to step back to save face, or will they become the first princesses in modern history to have their titles taken by direct royal command? The space for figures on the edge of the institution is disappearing in real time, leading us directly to the ultimate question that the palace hopes you will never ask. The House of York has managed to survive decades of intense public scandal, but this latest financial standoff might be the one single hurdle they cannot clear. With the future king leading a relentless charge for a highly streamlined, completely transparent monarchy, the space for anyone operating in the shadow of the institution is disappearing in real time. The choice to lock down their private ledgers may have successfully protected their secret financial alliances, but it has cost them their standing within the royal family. It raises the ultimate question: what could possibly be hiding inside those accounts that is valuable enough to risk losing a royal crown over? What do you think is the real reason the sisters are completely refusing to open their books to the palace? Is it a strict matter of personal principle, or is there a specific transaction buried in those files that would end their royal lives instantly? Let me know your exact theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed unraveling the deep mysteries the mainstream headlines refuse to touch, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another deep dive. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the very next story.